Gunline, Gunline, Gunline. How's everybody doing out there today? It's your host Lopez here from On the Gunline podcast. Thanks for joining me here where we shoot the shit like we did in the past out in the field. Today I got a very special guest with me who's going to come over here and tell us a little bit about how his geriatric ass is still living amongst us with this COVID virus, and as well as give us some good information on resources that are good for veterans out there. I met him when we were stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado, out in Fort Carson, obviously. I go fucking up already. And we were in 277 FA together. He was in Alpha Battery. I was in Bravo. And we actually came out around the same time, I believe, right? Yeah, I think we came out in 2015 together. So with that said, here I have Mr. Anderson. First name, I think, is it Jeff?
Jeff,
yeah, it says it right there on the fucking screen.
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah.
I'm not used to you having fucking first names.
It's weird, right? Yeah, using first names in the military is hard. Huh?
Yes,
hey, Danny. You never call him fucking Danny. It's like, hey, Lopez, what's up, dude?
Exactly. So welcome to the podcast, man. Thank you for being here on the Gunline.
Well, appreciate the invite. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. How you been, man?
Man, with all things considered, man, I'm doing well, man. You got to make the best of the bad situations, and I consider myself thriving, all things considered. So for my quote unquote geriatric ass, I can outruck you any day. So we'll age is nothing but a number. So I'm good.
You're right about that, brother. You are so right about that, because I saw you training up for that the Baton Death March. Yeah. Dude, I was impressed, and it sucked that they ended up nixing it at the last minute. I had a buddy of mine that was on here, actually, Satterwhite. He was going to be doing it as well. He was fucking, disappointed at all that training that they put into it.
Yeah, well, I'm actually, with that being said, I'm training for the Go Ruck and Roll Championship in November in Washington, D.C. So it's even more intense than that. We're doing 50 miles in 20 hours. And I'm going to carry a minimum of a 30-pound plate plus additional resources. My ruck's going to be probably close to 50 pounds. So I'm been trained up on that. I've been averaging about 92 miles a month. So I'm at over 370 miles ruck since January 1st. So I'm doing 1,000 miles in 2020 to prepare myself for doing another challenge. But yeah, it's, you got to push yourself. I ruck before I go to work. I do stuff at night. I've got a couple of long ones tomorrow and Sunday. You got to do what you got to do. But it helps me with a lot of other things to get me straight and keep me busy. So.
Yeah, definitely. The idle mind is the devil's playground when it comes down to it. So, tell us what's your story, man. So we can learn about here, old Sergeant Anderson. What is your story?
My story's a little unique. I'm from San Antonio. I graduated before some of you guys were alive, and I joined the Marine Corps in the late 80s. I was an 0331. I was a machine gunner. Did 4 years. I did one combat deployment with Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And I got out in late 92. Went to college and got my business degree from University of Texas, San Antonio. And I did business. I was a manager. I was a regional manager. I even owned my own nightclub at one time. And I just got bored, and in about 2009, I'm like, there's got to be more to just working your butt off just for a paycheck. And I miss wearing the uniform. And so I started looking at possibly rejoining the Marines in my late 30s. At that time, the Marine Corps was like, hey, thanks, Devil Dog, but you're too old. And I started talking to the Army, and I almost went the OCS route because it was open at that time for older guys.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that.
Yeah, my job started was getting better, and I was like, I was just hanging out. But then finally, I just hit a wall where I'm like, I'm done. And so I called the recruiter back. He says, what are you doing, man? I said, hey, I need a job. So we went down to MEPS, and I talked to the recruiter. Or actually the recruiter, the civilian. He's like, hey, Anderson, I got a bunch of jobs for you, blah, blah, blah. But they wanted me to put as an E2 or E3. I'm like, listen, dude, if I'm on an E4, I'm not coming in. He's like, Mr. Anderson, you've been out since 1992. You were a Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps, i.e. a terminal Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps. You lose one rank automatically after 6 months. How are you going to be an E4? I said, listen, man, if you can make it happen, make it happen. If not, I'm going home. He says, well, hang out, man. So about 2 hours later, I sat in the lobby watching a marathon of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I swear to God, for 2 hours. Good show, but after 2 hours, that's enough. Yeah. He comes out, he says, Sergeant, he says, Mr. Anderson, come on back. Let's talk. He's like, hey, someone about you told me I need to get you in the military. He's like, I talked to Fort Knox, and I persuaded her to give you some options. He goes, you have two options. Do you want to drive a truck? I said, no, sir. He goes, you want to blow shit up? I said, yes, sir. He goes, welcome to artillery. And that's how I got into the Army in 2010.
Oh,
So after an 18-year break in service, I rejoined the military in August of 2010. Um, and that's how my journey started.
how old were you when you rejoined?
When I rejoined, I was 40.
Oh,
And, yeah. And so when you said the geriatric thing, it was sort of funny because, I heard the old man joke almost every day when I was active duties because it was convenient and easy. I had to prove, I was 43 when I ran my first half marathon up in Colorado Springs. I ended up doing multiples and things, harder, challenging things just to prove that age, it
it's
does not define you.
it's
And
all
people so
mental.
easy want to say, oh, old man this, old man that. And I was like, let's go for a run. Let's do this. I'll break you off. And I did, just because I got tired of hearing people say you can't do something. When I told
Exactly.
people I wanted to go back in at age 40, from friends to my pastor to a lot of family members, like, are you sure you want to do this? I was literally told, there's a war going on. If you go, you're going to go to Afghanistan.
Right.
And I told my pastor, I talked to him after service for like an hour. I'm like, I know, I probably will go. He's like, but why? I was like, because I can, and I'm able to, and I want to,
Wow.
and, now I think about it, it's a little crazy because I work with people that are at 40, if not younger. And I'm like, I went back in,
Hmm.
now that's 10 years ago. And it's the best decision I ever made. Honestly, God, hands down, I would not change anything, no matter how I got out and current physical,
Right.
anything. That was the best decision I ever made.
You know what's
Next to
awesome?
marry my wife is the best decision. I should better recant that. My wife was definitely the first best decision, but rejoining the military, as profession wise,
Right.
was great.
You know what's? I wish that there were more Joes out there that had the same heart that you have. The same, like you said, man. It's all mental.
Right.
When it comes to shit like that, you can teach your body to fucking push through the pain.
Right.
But there comes a point where your body says, "Hey, you know what? Nah, you can't do it no more because now you're doing more damage than good."
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Last
amazing.
year, last year, when I did my first baton, you know, uh, obviously you're aware of David Goggins, and I read his book at that time. And he was talking about when you hit that wall, that's really only your 40%. You got 60% more to go. I hit several walls during that 26.2 mile,
Oh yeah,
crazy ruck with a 50-pound rucksack. And I'm like, I wanted to quit, but I don't quit. And I
right.
had pain in my shoulder. I mean, I have a torn labrum. I got this and this, but you find things, and you're 100% right. So many people always go the easy way and either never attempt it or quit before they even give it a full effort. And I think,
Exactly.
you have to, your body can do a lot more than you really think if you just try.
Exactly. You just got to push through the pain.
Right.
That's awesome, man. That's great to hear. And it's good that you could put those young bucks in motherfucking, it put them in their place. That's awesome shit. Because I know I'm a big shit talker, but that's about where it ends. Because as far as running goes, this guy cannot run worth a crap. And I proved that yesterday. I went running to your park that I know that you go to a lot over to McAllister.
Right.
And bro, I made the mistake of not calculating the distance. I thought, it doesn't seem too much, and I think it'll all be hardball. Well, once I got off the orange path into the blue, it
The,
turned into just trail, just
the blue loop. Yeah.
roots and
Hmm.
rocks.
Right.
And that Mud Creek Trail broke me off. And
Okay.
I was thankful when I came out the other side and hit the hardball again. And 4.3 miles later, I was in a hell of a lot of pain, brother. And I give it to you. I'm only 42 years old, and I know you're just a bit older than me, not that much, and
Just turn the big 5-0, rub it in. Big 5-0 in March
yeah, but
during the beginning of the whole COVID crisis, mind you. Yeah.
yeah. And you put me to shame on that. 7 years older than me, and you put me to shame, baby. But I'll catch up to you. You'll see. I'll catch up to you. I might start
Well,
joining
I
you in
will
those
tell you.
run marches.
Well, Lopez, I will tell you this, man. With as many deployments things you got on your belt, your knees are probably not as good as they should be. So what I recommend, man, just grab a ruck, start rucking with nothing in it, maybe some water, and if you ruck, it burns 3 times more calories than walking, but you won't have pressure. I have bad knees, so your knees won't be affected. And when you start, like I'm right now, I could do a little bit of a ruck shuffle, but I can do a 16, 17-minute mile rucking. Like tomorrow, I'm going to do 10 to 12 with a buddy and then another 12-miler on Sunday.
Okay.
But you can do more endurance. You can burn calories, and it's actually you can do it with your wife, you do it with friends, and you won't feel like it's such a chore. Like, man, running kicks my ass, and
Right.
running's going to tear my back, my knees up. If you start rucking, and you can always augment, add a shuffle to a run in there, and mix
Yeah.
it up, and you can still burn and actually enjoy doing it. Because, like I said, I'm averaging over 90 miles a month, and I don't hate it. I still like doing it. It's fun to me. I put on my tunes, I go and I get it done. In an hour I can knock out right at almost 4 miles, and then
Oh,
I'm come back and go to work. And so you could do that, and you probably enjoy doing it, man.
hell yeah, good looking out. I'm gonna have to try that shit out. So, being that you were prior service in the Marine Corps, you've heard all the
Oh
analogies
yeah,
of how the Marine Corps is better than the Army,
sure.
and so how did you find that transition? What
You
were the
know,
biggest differences?
well, lucky for me, I had a long break, so I got desensitized a little bit of the whole Marine Corps mantra and mindset. I still had them still embedded in me. Don't get me wrong, but embedded in me. But I would get asked almost on a daily basis for the first year or so. Tell me about the Marines and the Army. What's the difference? You
Mhm.
know, it was a lot of this pride. I think a lot of the professionalism. Even from an E2 and E3 in the Marine Corps, back in the day, you would press out your uniform, press out your cover, spit shine your boots. When we
Yeah.
went to inspection every Monday for first formation, you try to look as good as your platoon sergeant. Where in the Army, people slept in the camp in the AC, didn't give a shit. People just look like soup sandwiches. I know when first time I went to NTC, I remember seeing a bunch of Marines, and they were all in line for the chow hall or the DFAC. I still call it chow hall in the Marine
Yeah.
Corps. They're in line at DFAC, and everyone looked squared away. And I look at the line, and I see all these fat sons of bitches, and I was embarrassed. That was the first time I was embarrassed to be in the Army. And I was like, here I am sitting next to some Marines, and there's an E3 with an E6. They looked as the same level as looking sharp, and I'm
Right.
like, that was the biggest difference. And just when you see them, marching, you see the Marines marching like you see in the movies, and then you see, like, you go to Fort Sill, perfect example. Fort Sill trains artillery for both branches.
Yep.
You see the Marines marching across the street at Fort Sill, and you see the bunch of soldiers lollygagging,
Yep.
fucking smoking and joking. You're like, what the hell is going on here?
I
And
was gonna bring that up.
that's yeah, that's a huge difference. And I just I got out of the Army as an E6. I have I think 21 ribbons, if I'm not mistaken. And my wife jokes with me saying, when you die, I'm going to bury you in your Lance Corporal dress blues, because she knows that's who I really am. I mean, I got
Right.
out of the Corps with like 11 ribbons and 5 stars. And there was only one other Marine in my entire company. He had more ribbons. And he actually had a star in his combat action, because I had a combat action but didn't have a star on it because I only
Right.
got
Right.
it once. But, yeah, I think just the way you carried yourselves,
Yeah.
the discipline, the professionalism, that was the biggest difference. And then, and then of course, most Marines are arrogant and cocky, and we used to call Army guys dogs, like Army dogs. Look at the Army dog over there. I mean, I don't know why, we just did.
Yeah.
So, and we didn't come across a lot of soldiers when we were active duty. We worked a lot with the Navy, sometimes Air Force when I was in one of my duty stations, but
Okay.
we didn't see a lot of soldiers, honestly. For my 4 years I was in Marine Corps, other than very very rarely I saw some in deployment, but it wasn't a lot. So
Right. My family, I had two brothers that were jarheads and one that was a soldier. And one was, this is back in the early 80s. He joined the Marine Corps and he went to Cherry Point. He was a
mhm.
aviation mechanic. And then my brother Ed, he was actually a tanker out in and he went to the Gulf War as well. And it's funny, he was in the last unit that still had M60s for their fucking tanks while everybody else had M1s. So
Well,
he remembers that as well. He was out of Camp Pendleton as well. And but it I tried to join the Corps as a kid, but they wouldn't take me because I only had a GED at the time. This is back in the 90s, where there was not a need. So I went there and they were like, well, you can go to college and get one semester in PE or something to go on top of the GED. And I was like, no. I was like
right.
19 or 20, and I'm like, I'm not about to do all that bullshit.
Right.
All I want to do is I wanted to be a tanker. That's all I wanted to do, was be a Marine Corps tanker, because my brother was a tanker. And I saw the pictures that he would send me from back in the Gulf War. And so that's what I wanted to do. And I don't want a fucking degree or a college for that. And they
Mhm.
were like, well, go try the Army then. I went to the Army. And again, this is back at prior, and I told them I have a GED, and they were like, oh, yeah, that's going to be a little difficult right there. And then they saw my tattoos, and they were like, yeah, we can't take you.
That's over. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, long story short, the war kicked off. They need the bodies. all of a sudden they looked over all that shit, and the Army did at least. And on top of that, I had a felony now, and the Marine wasn't even going to take a look at me on that.
Right.
The Army was like,
"Come on, boy, let's go."
Oh, yeah. So they got me with the video, and then they got me with a bonus, and they got me with blowing shit up. I wanted to blow shit up. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I ended up joining. Now, what I did appreciate about when I went through basic training, which I know is nothing like y'all boot camp, and at least it was tough, like I expected it to be.
Right.
You know, and there was a sense of pride that one of my drill sergeants had in having artillery and being artillery. Like, he had a lot of pride in that. So I started taking pride into that. So that's why I love the field artillery. To me, I think we're the most prideful branches that there is. We loved our uniforms looking squared away, at least in my old units. Because like, as you alluded to, oh my God, when I went to Fort Silt for, what was it called? BNOC Phase 2. Wasn't shit called ALC?
ALC?
When I went to ALC, bro, there's nothing worse than seeing all these guys in AIT with their camelbacks marching, looking like hot garbage.
Yeah.
And then you see the jarheads just, even their fucking cadence callers, even though they're not even calling cadence, they're just keeping in step. They sound so much better than our drill sergeants did, man. I'm like, this is an embarrassment.
If you had any idea how much we drilled in boot camp, it would blow your mind. We would drill all day sometimes. And then at night, when it's long and you're tired after chow, you think you got some time to chill. They call the blacktop outside the grinder.
Okay.
Inside of the squad bay, they call it the mini grinder. So the drill instructor, you'd be tired as shit. All of a sudden he goes, "Set up the mini grinder," which meant move all the racks along the wall to leave the open area. And we would practice marching with our M16s.
Yeah.
We would do obliques, which Army doesn't even know what oblique is. When you doing movements, and we would be so crisp because when it's time to graduate, when you're graduating, you look like you've been doing it for years, other than just 3 months.
Right.
So we drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled more. So that's something that the D&C is taught in the Army.
Right.
It's not emphasized in the Army. And that's a difference, because the Marine Corps drill and ceremony instills discipline, goes back to professionalism, the esprit de corps. I mean, if you look at a video from the Marine Corps 25 years ago, you would see it today. You couldn't probably tell the difference.
You're right.
Even the Marine Corps yearbook, when you graduate, my father was a reservist in the Corps. His cover from the 1960s was the same red cover, same picture. I graduated 25 years after he did, the exact same cover, Danny. I actually have it somewhere. I didn't know the difference. I have to open it up to see the pictures inside are different, but the covers are the same. Corps they don't like change. They're very strict about, if it works for us, why F it up?
Why rearrange?
Army changes uniforms every couple of years. Army changes their motto all a couple of years. The Army can't figure out what they want to do, you know. But, you know, I can sit here and say I would be buried in my dress blues in the Marine Corps, but the Army gave me something at the time that I needed. It made me refocus.
Yeah.
It made me set me up for what I'm doing today. If I didn't go back in the Army, I have no idea what I'd be doing right now, because the way I was going was leading me in the direction of just burnout, being a manager, being in charge of, you know, $1 million inventories and P&Ls and staffing and all that crap. Even though I had success at times, and, you know, you get sort of the ego, you know, you got a top 20, you know, plaque, you go on a trip, you do this, all these things that making good money, I thought I needed to do, but did not realize that it was costing me my happiness, my, you know, self-worth. You know, I let myself go. I gained a bunch of weight. Never worked out. You know, my family life, I thought I was being a good, you know, husband and father, but all I would do was paying bills because I was never home. You know, so the Army, I owe a lot of gratitude to.
What did you when we transitioned out? I mean, it's the first time you came out of the Army. How old were you?
There's some.
I thought those were my dogs right there. Those are yours, huh? It's
like, you know, one thing about the life of a coronavirus is that I think Amazon comes more often. They come. They do knock a lot, and my dogs will only lick the delivery driver to death. They won't. They sound like they're going to bite them, but they'll lick them to death.
Yeah, I thought those were my dogs here for a second. Like, why are my dogs barking?
We gotta keep this podcast real, man. This is real life right here. This is what's happening. Yeah.
The COVID, man, it's got
Yeah,
us stranded in here. So when you got out of the military the first time, how old were you?
When I got out the first time, I was 22.
Okay. So, and you had already, you went to combat at that time,
Right.
right? So
Correct.
you went to you got your car while you were out there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I was with 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines,
okay.
and so I was an 0331. I was actually a machine gunner. So I was
Right.
in infantry, but I got to haul the M60 back then. So I got to do all the same thing that 0311s or equivalent of 11 Bravos in the Army do.
Right.
So I got to hump all the same crap, but a lot heavier.
Right
Uh,
on.
and
And
we didn't use even when we were in garrison and training, we never dispatched vehicles. That's the biggest difference. The biggest difference that I see difference between the two branches. Like if there's a range 5 miles away,
yeah,
we load our gear up and we rucked out to it. You know, in the Army, if it's a range a mile away, they were like, dispatch vehicles, what?
load
You
up
know,
the
so
LMTV.
right. I mean, we would go out in the field on a Monday, ruck out 8 miles to a range, shoot, you know, and we would only use poncho and a poncho liner, call them a ranger roll.
Mm-hmm.
We would never take tents. GP mediums, I didn't see till my first deployment. You know, I never saw a cot till I was deployed. You
Right.
know, we had sleeping bags, but we never used them. They would tell us, you know, hey, everything we carried, you know, a lot of times was only in our ass pack or in our rucksack. I mean, these old school Alice packs. And so, I
Yes.
mean, we had a very streamlined, gear list. And so, you know, and then in the Corps, you just used to make and do with nothing. And so, you know, you get in the Army and it's like, well, I remember having a potbelly stove in Yakima. I was like, what the hell is that, dude? A potbelly stove, you know? I was like, this is like, we're living like, you know, La Vida Loca out here. But yeah.
Right. So when you got out the first time, did you have any issues transitioning, or did you make a seamless transition from the
You
Corps to
know,
civilian life?
on paper, it looked like it was going to be seamless. So I was working for a company that did some pretty high speed stuff overseas. And I got back in with them. And so my last 6 months of active duty, I started working almost like consulting with them, talked to them multiple times a week. And they did some things where they had like a bunch of armed escort teams overseas,
Okay.
protecting ships from pirates and Somalian pirates over by the Gulf of Aden, things like that. So when I got out, I actually was a director of sales for them and was getting paid a pretty good salary. And everything when I was gone, they got really big. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to go back and do that. And so it was going back in. I was making good money. I got out on a Thursday. On a Monday, I started working full time.
Oh shit.
About 3 months into it, just wasn't working out. They weren't happy. There was some change in the whole business, and a lot of you know. So they're like, hey, we're gonna let you go. I was like, okay. So about 6 weeks, I did the whole application thing, get a couple interviews, get multiple interviews, thinking I got the job, didn't get the job, and so I got a job working in operations for a major a movie company that does a lot of PCS moves. And so I was working in operations, making 10,000 more than I was making before. And I was like, man, I'm doing good. And they had
Right.
me training to take over to be a general manager with about an $85,000 base salary. I'm like, that's
Oh shit.
great. Called into the office and they said, hey man, we really, really, enjoy your hard work. You're doing great. However, we got our financials and we lost. It was like $150,000 or something, like the
Ooh.
previous quarter or something. And
Right.
they let 2 people go. It was me and one of the office staff. And so then I was like, that was my wake up call. And then
Yeah.
it seemed smooth, and I'm like, what's going on? So I'm literally started having that transition issues like a lot of veterans do. And so I was trying to keep myself sane. I was applying and I got involved with the Wounded Warrior Project,
Okay.
and they sent an email out about a service project they had coming on. I was like, oh, what is this? That might be fun. And so I took my 2 kids at the time were teenagers, and we went out to the charter school in San Antonio, and we did there was a bunch of people out there. We did demo, we painted. We helped build some outdoor classrooms, and there was another organization that co-partnered with them.
Okay.
And they told me about the organization, and they had a fellowship where you can actually volunteer at a nonprofit of your choice and
Mm-hmm.
get paid a small stipend and sort of learn if that's something that you might want to do. And I was like, nothing else has seemed like is really calling my name. I got time. Let me look into that. Well, I got accepted. I started working at a nonprofit in housing homeless veterans, and I was an assistant to the housing specialist as a volunteer intern. Well, it was a 6-month internship.
Right.
Two and a half months into the internship, I was helping housing more veterans than one of the housing navigators in the other grant. So they said, hey, can we talk to you? I was like, oh, okay. They said, hey, we're really happy with what you're doing. Would you consider taking a full-time position as the housing navigator? I was like, what? And so I got hired on full time, and they transitioned that person to another case manager position. So I started housing homeless veterans that were literally, at the shelters, on the streets, some of the toughest cases you can see.
Now,
Uh,
just to clarify,
mhm,
this is after this time that you've been
mhm,
out, not
mhm.
before.
This is my second time. Oh, yeah, you're actually, so this is recently. The
Yeah, yeah,
first time I was a 22-year-old kid, just went to school. Transition was like, it wasn't, I don't think years of were transition back then.
yeah.
Got out, went to school,
Right,
did my thing, and did life,
right.
But
So,
the
but
second
this
time
time on the way out,
right, the second time during the Army transition, I felt that was my first real transition, honestly.
okay,
I had a family, I had kids,
right,
obligations. I wasn't a solo 22-year-old kid who just wanted to party and not worry
right,
about anything. I had no obligations. But yeah, so I ended up working there. I worked a couple different grants there.
okay.
Unfortunately, sometimes grants go away. I'll make a long story shorter. I ended up leaving there and became a lead case manager, actually running the entire program for another nonprofit. And I've
Okay.
been there for 3 years in July. And we have two major grants that we're working right now. And one of them, we house veterans that are homeless, that are literally have no permanent addresses, that are
Out
on the
of here in
streets in their
San
cars
Antonio?
in San Antonio. And the second grant is that we help, especially right now with the whole COVID-19, is that
Yeah,
we help veterans with rental assistance to help them avoid eviction, or if they have a hardship saying, I can't pay my rent,
yeah.
we can help to pay. And actually today, we just got wind back because the funder just double the max amount that we can pay. So now we have even more money to give to a veteran, because
Wow.
we're seeing some non-traditional clients who may have high. I had a client the other day that had a $2,300 rent payment. And so when people have really, and most nonprofits have dollar allocations. So with ours, it just got raised. So if we get that person who normally would not be calling a nonprofit for help, is
Right,
like, hey, I was making, 80,000 a year till COVID, and now I
right.
lost my job, and I don't want to be homeless. What can you do? So that's what I've been doing. I'm working remotely from home, but we have seen an uptick in requests, and we're not missing a beat. We turned and burned quick. We got everything digital platform. We can do everything electronically. We do digital or virtual appointments.
So for
It's
those that are listening or that have the
Mhm,
capabilities of
mhm.
listening, what would be the first steps if they needed to reach out to get assistance from either your nonprofit or whoever they can get assistance from?
So there's a lot of different ways. There's the easiest way. There's a veteran referral platform called Texas Serves,
Okay.
txserves.org. All they do, they can go online and they just type in their key information, and they can say, what do you need? Say, I need rental assistance. I'm facing eviction. And then they will have a case manager or caseworker reach out to them and say, okay, Danny, what's the situation? He said, hey, I was working, lost my job, and I can't make my rent.
Right.
And so usually they'll turn them in. Then they will go ahead and assess the need, and then
Correct.
they'll find providers. They have 100 plus providers on their platform,
Wow.
and we have been for the last several years the number one nonprofit. We received, the last time I checked, well over 1,000 referrals from that platform alone.
That's
But
awesome.
that's the easiest way, because they reach out to multiple organizations, and it's not just rental assistance. So say the veteran needs food assistance. Say maybe they have a bunch of kids that need diapers. Maybe they need you
Yeah.
know some clothing assistance. They can send them out either counseling assistance. So maybe the veteran's home now with his wife and realizing that all these triggers are coming up, and he's having a hard time with his marriage now
Yeah.
because they lost one income. They see each other 24 hours a day now. There's no separation. He forgot there's no self-care for the veteran, and so
Right.
now everything is making it difficult. And so that's a really good platform to use, and that's how we get a lot of referrals, and we do direct referrals as well.
Okay, awesome. What about like shit? It's just my mind is just like blown right now with so many resources that are out there
Yeah.
that maybe a lot of people are unaware of, especially in the Texas area. I mean, Texas loves we love our veterans out here. And San
So
Antonio
there,
being
so
military.
there's another one too, Danny. So you have 2-in-1 Texas that is for
Okay.
United Way. So you've got people across the outside San Antonio. They can use 2-in-1 Texas will tell you some of the resources that you have in San Antonio and surrounding counties.
Okay.
You also have one called sacred.org, which is sacrd.org. And
Okay.
that's, so if someone's watching and says, well, I'm not a veteran, or maybe they have a bad discharge. So it's a bad conduct or something that a
Okay.
lot of agencies, they can go and click in the same thing. They click on the zip code, and then it pops up, say, I need rental assistance. And it'll tell you like, hey, 3 miles between 78247 zip code, there's 5 different places to offer that service. And
Oh,
so
right on.
there's a lot of one-stop shops like those 3 that you don't have to sit there and call 25 agencies. You can call like 1, maybe 2 or 3. And usually like Texas Serves, I just talked to one of the directors about 2 hours ago. He's really on top of it. And so they working with a lot of different, they'll get the veteran the support they need.
Are these grants or are these loans?
Most of them are working off grants, like Texas Vet Commission funds one of my grants, and they fund a lot of the general assistance in the state of Texas. And then some other generous, organization like USA funds one of my rapid rehousing grants for homeless veterans.
Okay.
And then for like Texas Serves, they do have some grants and then some other funding streams as well. But a lot of the nonprofits work off grants, and a lot of them are just donations from the general public.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, outside of Texas, if let's say there's veterans that are listening, would they just go to the VA and find?
They can. What I recommend, Danny, is that you go. So depending on where they're at, most counties will have a local county veteran service office, and so they usually have smaller caseloads in the VA. Okay. So if they look in, say, Travis County or Harris County, they usually have a veterans office. So you can contact, say, Bexar County Veteran Service Office, San Antonio, and they have a veteran service officer that would say, what's your situation? And they can do everything the VA can. You can sign over like pretty much equivalent of a power of attorney, and they can go ahead and act on your behalf. They can contact the VA and say, where's Mr. Lopez's, status right now? He's in review status. Okay. And then say, hey, you want to work on an increase. And so, hey, I'm at 80% right now, but I know I got some issues still. I'm going to file for an increase. Mm-hmm. You can let Bexar County service officers work on your behalf. So all major counties, even the smaller cities, will usually have a county that represents them. Okay. So if you look up your particular county and veteran service office, that's a good resource to have. Okay. And it's also a good start. And then you can sort of go back, like sort of how I said, where you can find out maybe additional resources in your community, but they will tell you, oh yeah, we can do this, we can do that. I mean, I'm on call. I was on a call Tuesday with one of them from locally, so they'll help you out. I've helped out several of my veterans with zero claims, started a 0 developed claim and got it to 90 and 100%. So they can definitely help you out. Nice. And their caseload is probably, definitely probably a third to half of what a typical VA case manager is. So instead of having to wait for the whole 2 or 3 years of some of these crazy stories you hear, right, it's going to be that long. Right now, according to VA, this is what I just heard yesterday from someone from Veteran Benefits, they have a 90-day turnaround. They're saying from when you call, you should know something within 3 months. Now, wow. How realistic is that? I don't know, but he's saying that's right now they're actually seeing quote unquote a reduction in receipts, which means they have had a less amount of claims since COVID started than they had before, because some are transportation issues, some are issues of not going to be able to get to the clinic because they're closed, whatever. So right now, it's probably the best time if you're a veteran. Maybe you have 10%, but you've been trying to get an increase for years, but you're lazy or bored or don't have it. Man, start now. Yeah, start now. And if you've been seeing a doctor, it's all about having the continuum of care. So if you have not seen a doctor in 5 years and you say you have PTSD but never been diagnosed with it, pretty much you need to see a doctor to make sure you got it, because if you're not getting medication or going to counselor or something like that, how are you going to get paid for something that you technically aren't getting treated for?
Right, exactly. And that one's a touchy subject for me because there's a lot of guys out there that fake the funk about PTSD.
Oh yeah.
And they're the ones that clog the fucking system for those Joes that actually do need the help. Right. And that one, it just irks the shit out of me, especially when I go to the VA. I go to Tejada out here. I don't know if you've been to that one. And
oh yeah.
You can see some of these guys where you're just like, really, dude, you want to wring their fucking necks. But I mean, I don't know their story. Maybe their basic training was so tough that they got broke off PTSD style.
Lopez, imagine being in my shoes. You're seeing clients come in with D214s that have 3 weeks active duty, 3 weeks, and you see that they got 90 to 100%. You're like, how in the hell? You see people that are getting full benefits, and some of these people who got out like pre 9/11. So you're telling me and some of these benefits have been active for a minute. So they were in and probably made less than $2,000 active duty, yet they're getting $3,000 a month for life of their P&T forever. And so And I'm like, what was so dramatic that you got, 100% for
Yeah.
3 weeks in the military?
Yeah.
And I seen that. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. I've seen the fraudulent D214s. I've seen people that
Oh,
pieced up
wow.
the two of the old version and new version and cut and pasted, saying that he got 4 Purple Hearts, was this, and this, and this. Well, with a little bit of research, you find out that the truth, and he had a dishonorable discharge.
Ah,
And so,
you know,
but he took about $10,000 from other agencies before I caught it.
oh, but I mean,
Yeah.
they can go back and sue them, right? I mean,
Oh, they already put a claim in for stolen valor. And last I heard, it was already up the chain. And this is one of those things where they do what they do with him now. I don't know, but they know his name though, and he's
oh,
well known,
dude,
so he's not going to be able to get any more money.
I saw this one character on TV that they gave him one of those homes for the veterans that he was like,
Right?
in a wheelchair and paralyzed and whatnot. And then they went
No,
back and they exposed him.
he was walking around dancing and shit in the kitchen.
Yep. And carrying lumber and all this kind of
Wow.
shit. And then he wouldn't talk. His old lady came out to talk for him. But it's fucking disgusting
Right.
how, he's a veteran and he went to war. He got blown up. He was temporarily paralyzed, but, he played it off so he could get more benefits, and these are people that are giving out of the kindness of their heart,
Mm-hmm.
to veterans so they could get better.
Right.
And then they go and fuck them over like that. So what's the civilian sector going to say about it? It's like, oh, they're a bunch of shitbags. You know what I mean? It's
It's
aggravating to say the least.
I found out of doing this for several years. Sometimes it's just you try. I've had a couple clients that have just taken and taken and taken, and you can see on a computer all the money they've gotten. I've had one client who sent me an email about her personal situation at a house that was uninhabitable due to like excessive roaches, and that it was causing issues with health of their family, had to get relocated ASAP. Well, not realizing that her case manager, she just got exited from another program. Her case manager happened to sit right next to me at a meeting after I was staffing this with a bunch of other agencies.
Uh-huh.
We looked it up, and it was her first month she was supposed to pay her rent. Her rent $1,200. She got 2 years of free rent in that program she just got exited. And here it gets better, bro. She was 100% service connected, and she had an able-bodied husband who, quote unquote, was unable to work because he had a background. She wanted me to rehouse her. And when we dug through her name and looked on the computer and we got a calculator out, this is a true story. This is the worst one I've ever seen. Since 2015, that particular veteran got over $41,000 from other agencies, and through 2017 had $35,000. And so I
Wow.
reported her, and the head agency was handling it over us, like we're handling this. And she said, "You're not getting another penny from anybody. We'll send pest control out there if it's really bad." It wasn't bad. It was all a lie, because
Right.
she didn't want to pay. She figured if someone paid me pay my rent for 2 years, somebody else is going to pay my rent, even though I have the money. And some people do that. They've realized how to work the system. We have veterans who know the game better than me. I had a veteran who lived off $127 a month. He got free housing. He got food stamps. He got free utilities. He would actually tell me about programs. And I don't know how he was living off $127 a month. And he was like, good. And he didn't, I was like, how is that possible? People can figure it out. And it's amazing with internet and the typical barracks lawyers, all these information they get, that I can figure it out. Hey, do this. I did work for me. And then they all talk.
Oh yeah. I remember when I was going through my MEB, and yeah, some stuff is good knowledge to listen because you got some doctors out there. But then there's others that'll give you the verbiage exactly what you need so they can write it up in the NARSM. And that's like,
dude, walking that track at Brigade, man. When I was permanent, when I was on a profile, when I was in MEB, I learned so much from like 2 or 3 guys that were about 3-4 months ahead of me in the process. They were telling me, trying to coach me on what to expect for the process. That you learned a lot, because you were ahead of me. Because there was guys ahead of me that you got to do this, you got to do this. I was like, no, man, I'm gonna tell them what's up and let them do. I never, there's people fake this, fake that. Why? That's not who I am.
exactly.
I'm not trying to, get paid. I'm not trying to I didn't get medically retired. I took a severance and I was fine with that. I could have got retired, but they decided to give me what they gave me, and now I'm taken care of. Now I'm all good. So I'm not, it all works out for a reason.
at the end of the day, it's your integrity that's in
Right.
play, you know. And personally, I couldn't look at myself in the fucking mirror knowing that I'm fucking some other veteran over by faking something. You know what I'm saying? That's just not my style. You know, and
Well,
fuck it.
I could blow your mind, and I'll be nice because this is on a podcast. But there's someone I know that was trying to work a claim, and he actually reached out to me, and he was trying to tell me, "You remember this? Remember this?" And I was like, "No." And this is from back when I was prior service, and I'm like, and I talked to another buddy of mine. I was like, that didn't happen. He literally purchased a picture, a real picture that another Marine took from another company to use as part of his investigation towards his decision to try to show them what was causing some of his quote unquote issues.
Right.
And I found out, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He told me, yeah, I bought this from the guy from another. I'm like, you bought a picture? And he
What?
bought a picture of some Iraqis, I'll leave it at that. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? Just to make sure he got paid.
Dude.
And needless to say, we're no longer talking.
Yeah.
Some people do whatever to go to extreme measures just to get a check. I'm not, like you said, I'm not going to get a check every first of the month and realize that, hey, I lied to get that check.
Right.
That is not money. Money ain't worth all that.
Trust me. And then the pills that they put us on, it really ain't worth it, bro. If you're faking the funk, dude. I don't know if they put you on anything, but
Well,
unfortunately, whew,
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I hate the shit
Well,
they put me
I
on.
would tell you this. So since this is a podcast and I'm all about information.
Yes.
So yeah, I was just with everyone else. It's easy to give you Zoloft, paroxetine, all these fun pills to quote unquote deal with whatever issues you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been out be 5 years in a couple of weeks. And when I got my 2 years after I got out, I filed for an increase, and
Okay.
a third party doctor, civilian doctor, did my evaluation for PTSD, and we were talking. And she's like, told her what meds they had me on, and I didn't like taking them because it make me feel, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. So, have you ever heard of the device called the Alpha Stim?
Yes, I used it.
Okay, so this is the key with that thing. I've been on it for over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
The Alpha Stim is something it's self-managed, so you have to use it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Is no, you won't have an instant aha moment when you use it. Some people expect some kind of instant, response, but I used that one year. My wife wanted to go to North Star Mall on the business mall in San Antonio
Yep.
during income tax free weekend and go to the Apple store. No, ma'am. I told her no 5 times. She said, honey, I don't want to go by myself. I just got on the Alpha Stim. I was there, no lie, Lopez, for almost 4 hours. I
Wow.
could not believe how calm I was. I was like this. And I heard the noises, talking, all the things that usually make me jittery.
Right.
And I was fine.
Wow.
And I realized, okay, and I've been on it since then. And
Okay.
it's not an end all be all, but
Right.
it's better. And I'm don't say I'm on zero medication for anything like that, because the one I have deals with depression, insomnia,
Mm-hmm.
and anxiety. And you can also get one that has the attachment, almost like a TENS attachment for pain.
Okay.
But when you use it regularly, 40 minutes a day minimum on a regular basis,
Yeah.
I got about 8 clients on it, I think, right now.
So,
It,
so
it,
for those
it
that don't
works.
know what the alpha stem is,
Yeah.
one that I had was the one that goes onto your ears,
Yes.
and you put the liquid on,
Yes.
and you turn
So
it on, and you feel like you're swaying on a fucking boat.
no, that's too high then. So the thing is, you got 0 to 5. And
Mm-hmm.
so if it goes, usually I say around like 3 to 3.5. So
Right.
when you feel a little tinge in your forehead, or you feel loopy a little bit, whoa, then
Yeah.
it's way too high. You got
Okay.
to bring it down. And I use it in the morning when I wake up. So don't use it if you're walking around, you're driving, anything like that. It can cause something crazy. But you know, it's it will work. And it's been one of those things where my daughter made a comment when we took her to college about 2 years ago. She's like, we went to breakfast and I didn't take it that morning. And I was a little edgy. And
Right.
she's like, Dad, you didn't do your alpha stim, did you? And I was like, no. And so I always remember that. So it's a small device.
Yeah.
People who don't know, it's probably the size of a small iPhone. It has little clips, like Danny said. It just goes in your ears, little clips on your earlobes. It sends small signals to your brain to pretty much emulate what medication does. And so it just keeps you stabilized. And what happens is when you normally have a reaction to maybe an anxious situation or something that causes you to want to get all riled up,
Mm-hmm.
it can keep you calm. Sometimes if you're having one of those bad days and your mood's all funky, sometimes it'll help you just say even killed. And for
Yeah.
me, it's worked well for me. I've seen people say, oh, I did it and you do crap. but it's usually because you didn't do it on a regular basis. It's like you got to almost build a tolerance and just stay with it. And
Right.
when you get off of it, then you can tell the difference.
I know that I was using it mainly for my migraines,
Mhm.
and it was helping for that. And I still have it here. I'm not as consistent on it as I was because honestly, Anderson, if I was to put on every fucking single thing that these motherfuckers gave me, I look like RoboCop. I mean, I have a
Dude,
TANS unit for my back. I have the Alpha stem for my ears. I got the CPAP for my nose.
hell yeah, baby.
Bro, I'm
I'm
all
with
over.
you, baby. I'm with you.
Bro, they
But
gave me this hip displacement type of fucking shit that goes around my hip so that I walk more straight.
now,
I'm
who's the geriatric fuck now?
right. Touche, old man. Touche, dude.
Yeah.
So let's try to get on a lighter note here. What are some stories you remember from the gun line, man? From being on the did you get to be on the gun line?
Yeah. So I was so when I was so my first duty station was a 217 FA out of Fort Lewis, and that's what I deployed with. So I actually was. You guys were downrange when we were there. So I was there from April 2012 to January of 13. So we were downrange when Command Sergeant Major Griffin was killed, because
Right.
I was on Pasab, Fab Pasab, when we heard the news, because I already knew that I was going to Carson because I already re-enlisted. So I
Okay.
knew I was going to Carson. So for you guys to know, that was a brigade command sergeant major who was killed during one of the village meetings, right?
Right.
And so I knew that I was going to that brigade, and so I was like, "Whoa, this is really real." But yeah, so we were there, and we were at a place called Frontenac. Well, I'm sorry, we were Passab first for about 6 months. Uh, 4th Brigade, 82nd were in charge of the FOB, and they didn't like to call artillery at all. They the units before us couldn't make time. They were always sloppy, and so they were just the infantry guys were doing a lot of the more stuff. So for
Wow.
6 months we shoot, but not a lot. There was a firing incident at uh, one of our other FOBs at Frontenac, to where they decertified one of the sections. And so one of my boys literally lived on the gun line for about 3 months. They had no, so finally they decided to close our FOB, well, our shoot down, and we flew down. My platoon flew down to Frontenac and took over the gun line. Those guys ended up just doing log packs for the last couple months. When we got to Frontenac, we shot a lot. Every night we would shoot. But yeah, when I was a 217, we actually won Top Gun. And
No.
so that, talking about stories. So here we are. I'm in 217. I just get there. You go. You get the old dude. In my section, I get. We have the guys who got bounced around from section to section, the
Right.
shit bags, the newbies, and then we end up getting we had the youngest section chief in the whole battalion, because the chief I had for a short time got fired because he was insubordinate to a platoon sergeant, and he fired him. So they threw a brand new E5 as the chief. And so here we are. He's cocky, so he's like, "Oh, I got this. We're gonna do fine." So we started training for deployment, and we started occupying. After 7 march orders, we realized that we sucked.
Yeah.
And we're like, we thought we were better, and we trained and we thought we were good. And so we get back and we're all just pissed and, tired as hell. We were shooting 777s too out there.
Okay.
And so, man, occupying 7 different times and hearing march order. It's like,
Oh,
fuck. So you're like, let's go. And you're trying to be faster than the last time, and you're getting tired, and you're pushing daylight, and you're like, God damn, this sucks. So anyway, we get back, and here's this 5'6" maybe section chief from North Carolina, who's the cockiest son of a bitch you ever meet in your life. He walks into our first sergeant's office. He reminds me of Lou Gossett Jr. from Officer and Gentleman. It's just
all right.
skinny dude, just matter of fact, like, don't mess with me. He walks up and he says, Top, we didn't get it done today, but I'm letting you know right now, we're going to win Top Gun. He's like, no shit? You think you're going to win Top Gun? Like, yes, sir. So we left. He told everybody, and everyone laughed us out. How the hell are you going to win Top Gun? You got the old dude, the fat guy, the
Right.
rejects. You suck. You guys were the worst out there, blah, blah. So all we did was we trained.
Right.
We trained and we trained. And when everyone went back from the motor pool, we trained more. And we went to Yakima, and we killed it.
Bro, you froze for about
faster. We were so
for
quick.
about 5 seconds, Anderson.
So we went to Yakima and we killed it, and we actually we won Top Gun by far. It was funny. Right before we shot, one of the young gun sections about 3 other dudes walked down to us, and they were all cocky, smiling, like, "Hey, we got something for you guys." And I'm like, "What's up?" They gave us a piece of paper, and we see a bunch of signatures. I'm like, what the fuck is this? He's
Yeah.
like, you can get the first signature for Top Gun. I said, fuck y'all. What is this? He goes, we're gonna win it, dude. And we figured we give y'all the first dibs. You get a signed thing from Top Gun. We're like, we're
Oh,
gonna kick your ass. And we did.
yeah.
And we rubbed that in, and we held that title for about a year and a half. And
Fuck
what's
yeah.
funny is that red muzzle cover, man, was everything else.
Of
And
course.
when he stood up, you saw the old dude, the guy who was, when we first got this one soldier, he was 86 pounds overweight. We looked like literally a motley crew of rejects.
It was the misfit pretty much.
Exactly. And we proved to everybody, hey man, you can do this no matter who tells you what.
Yep.
And we got so quick in occupying. Our commander was talking to some of his little sidekicks, and he said, hey guys, we're going to do something. We're like, what? He's like, we got some guys from other batteries that want to see you occupy, because you guys, according to tax op and everything, you guys are doing things by the book, but we noticed that some things you're taking some liberties on, but it's all safe. But so we did how we were taught, and we were cutting time off to the point where like, how the hell did y'all do that? And it was just like, okay, number one man does this, number two does this, and we just figured out how to make it work better than what we were taught.
You standardized it.
So we got so good at it. Before we left, my section chief and our platoon sergeant co-wrote the new tax op, and our procedures became the standard.
Fuck
and so
yeah.
that was something to this day that we take a lot of pride in. But I PCS to 277 with you guys.
Yeah.
And should have deployed at least 2 more times. And then the crazy thing is that during I was scheduled to go to ALC.
Yeah.
And then we had that government freeze to where everything was frozen, no travel and everything. And we were scheduled to go to NTC. And so, my first sergeant told me, hey, Anderson, you got a choice. You want to go to NTC or you want to go to LLC? And I was like, well, and if you remember my first sergeant, he's a cool dude. I'm like, well, what do you think? He's like, listen, dude, I was a year older than he was. He's like, he ain't getting no younger. He goes, your wife's going to be happy. He goes, go to school, career progression. I don't even know what we're going to do on this deployment. I don't know if you're even going to shoot.
Right.
So go. So I signed up for ALC, and then when the government shut down, it was like, what's going to happen now? And he's like, you're still not going. And then when they all got new orders, I went to ALC the same week they all deployed, the week of April.
Okay.
And I said, just send me a month late. And he wouldn't deploy me late. And then when I came back, I was on Road D, and then I was one of the active platoon sergeants who loved to run a lot.
Yeah.
And I hate running. But I started liking running long distance, and I ran a half marathon on my third one. I hurt my foot, and then I saw the doctor, and I asked her, I said, hey, my shoulder hurts a little bit. Can you check my shoulder out too? And she was really, really cool. She's like, listen, we're just going to bypass x-rays and go straight to MRI. So I'm like, really? Okay. She comes back. She says, I got good news, bad news. Good news is your foot's going to be fine. You got arthritic cysts, plantar fasciitis, bone spurs, blah, blah, blah. You're going to be okay. Your shoulder needs complete shoulder reconstructive surgery. I was like, what are you talking about? It's just a little sore. She goes, Sergeant Anderson, you tore your labrum in all three places, and your bicep needs to be reattached. And I was like, what? No, it's not that bad.
Like, you sure you got the right Anderson here?
So yeah. And after talking to her and my wife, she goes, how many years do you retire? I said, I got 11 more to go. She goes, listen, in my professional opinion, take the med board. And that was the best advice I listened to. Because
I think that we had probably the same doctor. Do you remember her name?
Yeah, Dr. Jennifer Carney.
Yep.
She was, and you know what? I'm friends with her on Facebook.
Really?
She's actually called me a few times. I talked to her about a year or so ago. She sent me a message because she had a soldier that was out here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And wanted if I would reach out.
Okay.
And she every blue moon, about 3 times since I got out, she's reached out to me. I called her once about a year or 2 after I got out. I saw her cell phone number.
Yeah.
And I said, I just want to thank you. And she's like, for what? I go, you don't understand that decision that you helped my family I made has put me in a position that I would never in a million years thought I would be. I can't even put into words. At the time, I was disappointed. I'm like, how can this career end? But that has put me in a position where I would not have financial stability, happiness, own my own home, things that it just, back in my hometown, I'm helping, veterans that are in need, that are homeless. I'm actively involved with numerous veteran organizations. I'm in a good place, but I would still be active duty right now. I would have almost just a few years left to go, and I'd probably be just barely. She told me, she goes, "Do you want to be like my brother? My brother retired. He could barely walk. When he got out, he was in his 40s with a cane, and he looked beat down. Don't
Yeah,
be like
I
him."
remember when I got to her because I couldn't take it no more. My back, in artillery, your back's gonna fucking hurt. Standard
Right.
fucking data, it is. But my shit, I had been complaining about it since '06, and again, it's just part of the fucking movement. But finally, I got tired of I didn't want to be put on a profile. I was tired of being a profile writer. You know what I'm saying? Because you look like a shitbag when you're writing a profile.
Right. I hated it.
You
It's
know,
horrible.
yeah, and I'd rather fucking run with back pain than be in fucking soft shoe profile. So I remember I went to her and I told her, "Ma'am, what can we do?" And she's like, "Well, you're too young to get the surgery." And then she's like, "Well, we could do the injections," but I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to do injections. All that's gonna do is numb me up, and it's gonna get worse. I just want it fixed. Can you fix it?"
Right.
And she's like, "Unfortunately, the only way we can fix it is if we just cut your legs off from here down." And I'm like, she's like, "The only thing I could offer you is the med board." And I was like, "Okay, well, what does that consist of?" "Well, you got to go on profile." Sure enough, there I go on profile. But you know what? It was definitely the best decision because if I would have kept writing it out, dude, I'd probably be a lot worse. Because as it is, I had to buy a 1-story house because the 2 stories we were talking earlier.
Right.
I can't go up and down the stairs anymore, man. It fucking hurts like a
Right.
bitch. So yeah, man, definitely shout out to Dr. Carney. Yo, she hooked it up.
Dude, she's amazing. It's funny we were saying about Carson and everything. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you were at Bravo, Lopez was a training room CO,
Yep.
and then
At
you
the
had a
end.
specialist, Warren, with you.
Yep.
And I was in the field, and for like 3 weeks, my first sergeant kept telling me, "Hey, Anderson, I want you to be in my training room." I said, "No, no, no." He kept every day at chow, he would ask me. I was like, "No, no." And I was like, "Why me?" He's like, "Because I want you to run my training room." I'm like, "I don't know shit about paperwork. Don't worry, I'll teach you." I was like, "Why?" So finally, I called my old section chief. I was in the FMTV. I called him on my cell phone. I go, "Chief, I got to ask you a question, man. This guy won't get off my ass. He
Right.
won't take no for an answer." He was like, "I got your nameplate ordered, Anderson. You're coming." So finally, I said yes. And so Lopez and Warren, those guys, I would go with them, pick their brain. "Hey, do this shit." They would say, "Hey, do this or
I
do this."
remember that.
And I would walk down the hall, ask them questions all the time, and then, it was a cool thing because trust me, as a Marine, we used to make fun of, we call pogues, people other than grunts. I was like, I'm never going to be a pogue. I'm never going to touch paper. That's not what I do. I want
Right.
to shoot shit, blow shit up. And here I became a pogue. And then I moved to battalion staff, became a battalion school NCO before I got out. I was even a bigger pogue. And now I'm a pogue in my day job. So it's crazy that I never thought in a million years I'd be touching paper, but it was because of being in a training room just like Lopez.
Bro,
It doesn't help me what I'm doing now.
let me pump the brakes a little bit on that before I start getting shit on because of that training room comment. Lopez was training room at the end of the career, all right? He spent his time on the gun line.
This is a gun line, not on the training room
Yeah,
line.
this is not in the training room. This was on the gun.
Hey, said with love, though. It's all love.
Fuck the training room. I hated the training room.
Yeah.
Training room could suck balls. Sorry. Warren is the one that ran that training room.
The funny part of the training room is when you get the NCOs, guys come in there and they're like, "Hey man, can you hook me up with a range card?" "What?" And they're like, "A PT card?" And they always want to have like the perfect PT score. "You shoot a fucking 40, bro. You weren't even there."
Right.
They're like, "You weren't even at the damn range." "Yo, man, hook me up, man. I gotta go to the board, man. Come on, hook me up."
Yep.
And they were like, "Come on, man, you can make it work." I'm like, "Dude, come on, man." And they would always want you to jimmy up some stuff, man, make it all look pretty.
Yeah.
I'm like, "No,
Honestly, when I got put in the fucking training room, I was lost, and all I would do was tell Warren, "Hey, bro, what the fuck do we do here?" Because before me, it was Sergeant Harold, and Sergeant Harold, he had that training room spick and fucking span. I mean, that shit was good to go, and yeah, bro, this guy in the training room I had no idea what I was doing. All I could do was like, "Okay, you need Smith files? Okay, you're gonna alphabetize them? Gotcha." Other than that, I sat down with First Sergeant and we bullshitted because I had no idea, and I would probably go smoke more than everybody and their mama. Get with the other
It was
chiefs.
always funny when we did weigh in tape because they would tape to my office, and you see these NCOs that are busting, and
Oh,
they're like trying to get a generous tape. It's like, dude, I remember there was one guy that we had 277. I won't blast him, so I forget his name sometimes. He got promoted that morning at ceremony, and then we did weigh in tape, and he busted. It was right before deployment. And I had to give it on his first sergeant's desk. I'm like, "Hey man, he busted," because he made a big stink. Like, anybody fails weighing tape, I'm gonna bust you. He made a big deal. So I'm like, "Hey, first sergeant, you gonna bust this guy? He just got promoted like an hour ago." He's like, "Leave it on my desk. I gotta talk to his platoon sergeant." And he was
Oh
like, I was
shit!
like, oh, but he needed NCOs for deployment. But I'm like, this guy just got his stripes, and he
Right.
just busted. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, that was
I'm
crazy.
assuming he kept his stripes.
Yeah, he kept. They were nice. They were nice.
Fucking dude. And Cabrales. Yeah, I crawled yesterday, guy. I crawled that fucking run yesterday. Mr. Marathon man, putting me on blast like.
Now he's just changing a bunch of fucking diapers now. I don't know how much is he running, because Dana's got him changing diapers and shit.
Right, he's
You
running to
know.
the diaper genie.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, hey, I know it's getting late, and I had a story. I know we
Send
might
it.
have time, and I told my buddy that I would actually, with his permission, I said, "Can I tell a great naked fire mission story from
Ooh.
downrange?" He gave me his permission, and I will to talk about it. So during our 2012-13 deployment, I had a friend who was a first lieutenant in another battery,
Okay.
and so they had this big, dog and pony show about, fire missions, you got to be in proper PPE. I'm
Oh
tired of,
god. Yeah.
you guys not wearing your gloves and your eye pro and your Kevlars. I need you guys in proper PPE. So this is what we need, Kevlars, eye pro, ear pro, gloves. You got to wear your boots, blah, blah, blah. You better don't. So he said, I'm tired of this shit. Don't. So one night, he was acting PL and FDO. So he's in the talk, and all of a sudden, he says on the Ray Cam recording, one of the guys comes up and goes, "Hey, Lieutenant, you might want to see something." He's like, "See what?" He goes, "Oh my God, you're going to want to see this." He goes, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So he goes over and sees his cam, and they called out a fire mission, and he says, "What in God's name is that?" All the soldiers are in proper PPE and nothing else. So they're
Oh
butt naked. There's no pants. There's no tops, but they got gloves on. They got the eye
right.
pro, ear pro, the boots, and they got a full gun crew. He says that what he remembers, there was at least 10, 12. So it was a full plus some extras, because when the word came out, they're like, hell yeah, we're gonna do it. So there was at first, and then he just watched it. He goes, I was so stunned. I'm in the talk watching. It's like, this is not happening. He goes, my career is gonna be over. Lieutenant's
Right.
gonna see this. Everyone can see this. I'm done. So freaking out. And he's like, here's a young guy. He's actually a second lieutenant. So he's a butter bar. So he's
Oh
like, oh
fuck.
shit, they got me. So
Right.
long ago we watched, he told me motherfuckers are doing pull-ups. He said they were raising the roof because they were doing helicopters all butt naked, wearing their PPE. He
Oh
says,
shit.
it was the craziest thing ever. Then they started coming down with stuff, and they had this. They had he told me to write this down. He said they had this motto, and they were trying to think of, hey man, if we gotta make some shirts. They were talking about slang and things they want to say over the net. He
Right.
said it's hard to pivot from the rear. And then like one of the farmers came down, they came up, fireman, hard to pivot from the rear. And they're like, what did he say? It became a running joke
Yeah.
and then people were like, what did he say? And it was like, and then after it was over, he left that unit, but the guys were going to make him a shirt and send it to him because they were scared, because everyone was like, man, it was still not it wasn't a shitty little fob. So no, it wasn't like everyone saw it.
Yeah.
So he never got busted. He actually got promoted.
Oh no
But
shit.
it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, they really want us to wear full PPE. We did.
That's
But
bullshit.
you saw everything on that fire mission, and they were just out there just letting it hang.
You know
And it
what?
was like,
Nothing's more important during a tick than making sure you got the proper PPE.
yeah,
Fuck what's going on downrange.
right.
You make sure you got your eye pro on, guy.
That was the most probably memorable fire mission that unit and anybody else in my deployment ever did. And luckily for my friend, he kept his career till he got out, because
Yeah.
he said for watching, he goes, my career's over. He's like so stunned. He's like, should have ran the gun line and was like, what are you doing? But as soon as the fire mission was over,
Yeah.
he goes, they all sprinted back into the tent, and it was like, it's over. But
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
so
you know what? That's a fucking what's the better fire mission than that? Just being in.
I'm jealous, thinking, man, who they thought of that? Why did we think of that? I
Right.
mean, my platoon sergeant would come down at 2 a.m, and then we were like, he's like, "Where's your eye pro, Sergeant Anderson?" I'm
Jesus.
like, on the ATC, I'm writing down on the 4513s or whatever, and trying to see what I'm doing, and he's yelling at me for not wearing eye pro at 2 a.m. on a Lou mission.
Bro,
It's like, come.
did you hear the story about when Sergeant Major Mendoza was in a helicopter looking through his fucking binoculars? This is while we were on deployment back in 2012, and looked into the fob, and sure enough, went into the ass of the smokes on that fucking firing point, because from the chopper he saw them through his binos that they weren't with full gear.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. I can't remember for the life of me who the fuck it was. I want to say it was Fonzie. I'm not really sure though. But dude, that's how bad Smash was. That motherfucker was on one. I love the man, but did you get the honor of working with him?
No,
Mendoza?
I know of him. I've heard a lot
Oh,
about him.
oh, dude, this motherfucker, he lit me up during was it ASPT? He lit me up, bro, because I was in charge during the battalion of teaching the low fire clear of the 240 Bravo. All right, low fire clear and all that good shit. So I had the book right there. I was going over it, but you had to pitch it to Sergeant Major, before you had the Joes coming through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man! So of course, here comes Sergeant Major Mendoza right to my station, and he's having me pitch it to him, and I'm pitching it to him. Bro, I don't know what the fuck I did wrong, but it's like I pissed in his Cheerios. He fucking blew up on me, made me seem like the most incompetent fucking NCO out there. I'm talking about belittled my ass in front of everybody and their mama out there. Wow. And I was talking with one of the NCOs earlier that was out there, and luckily there was one smoke that stood up for me and was like, that's not right, Sergeant Major, blah, blah, blah. He almost got his ass chewed for that. You know what was the worst part about it, though, here, Anderson? I was following everything. I was reading it right out of the fucking manual, every single thing. And he put me on blast for, I can't remember what it was. It was something fucking minute. But he was like, is that what it says in there? Show me where it says that. Of course, I'm just going to stay quiet because I'm just a young, I'm a staff sergeant. I can't say shit to Sergeant Major Mendoza. But he fucking lit me up, bro, in front of everybody. I'm talking about in front of everybody and their mama out there, brother.
Wow.
That was an embarrassing fucking moment. And if there was ever a time that I wanted to punch a fucking senior NCO, it would have been that one. That crazy, motherfucker was on one. Again, this is the man that looks through binoculars into the fucking fob while flying over in Afghanistan.
That's insane.
You know what? I'm going to end it with a quick story now that I remember this motherfucker. Check this out, Anderson. You missed out on this fucking shenanigans. We're out on the range, all right? You're zero in and fire and qualify, right? You're supposed to have your gloves on, your ear pro, eye pro, right? Mm-hmm. Motherfucking Sergeant Major Mendoza's out there checking everybody for having their fucking gloves on with a fucking cigarette in his mouth on the fucking fire. I bullshit you not. We are right there on the fire, and he's got a cigarette on. Now, where's your gloves? Make sure you have your gloves on. He's got a fucking Marlboro Red hanging out your motherfucking mouth. Wow. You ain't supposed to be smoking on the motherfucking line like that.
That's funny.
That's the standards that he held, Oh my God. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Oof.
Well, hey, I'll give your old battery a shout out. So
yeah,
right before I got out, I went to Rear D, mm-hmm. and I got to work with your old first sergeant Levine. And your first sergeant, I didn't know much about him. He looked like, because he was in Rear D, and I was like, man, this guy he don't like me. I don't. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I knew that the old schools NCO was PCSing, and mm-hmm. I knew before we came back for deployment that job was gonna be open.
Right.
And I wanted to get out of the training room, and he was always cool with me. And even though he seemed like a hard guy to get to know and to break, we coexisted, and for some reason it actually worked well. And then we were battalion staff.
Yeah.
It was actually, I was really surprised that it worked as well as it did. And he had my back, because he's like, yeah. He called me up and he says, all right, you want it? You got it. And I was like, about what? He goes, you asked for it. Do you want it, or you just BSing me? I was like, Roger, first sergeant, I'll take it. And so he brought me over to battalion staff, and we got battalion all ready to go. And already right when we knew, like a week or two before we came back from deployment, we went up over to brigade upstairs and got everything situated and ready for everybody to come back and start filtering back in. But
okay. Well, yeah. Have you heard about old Sergeant Levine?
Well, we used to be on social together, but it's been years, and I'm afraid to ask.
Oh, let's just say he's no longer on social media because he did one of his own soldiers dirty.
Oh no!
I'll leave it at that.
We could talk offline. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been years, but if you just judge person by the at the time of the period, it was he brought me over, and that helped too, because if I didn't get there, because my last year between doing the med board process and working battalion staff, it helped my transition completely.
Yeah.
Because if
Well,
I was still on the gun line playing Mickey Mouse games, knowing that I was going to be
yeah.
around and doing all that stuff, he let me. He's like, you could PT on your own, and I would go to the gym when they let us to. I
Yep.
wouldn't do all the typical profile PT if I didn't have to. He's like, hey, I'm going to work out for a second. Don't worry about me. I'm not going to sham. Yeah, you
Right.
do you, Anderson. Just be back in this formation. So I would go down to the main gym when they let us go by ourselves,
Right.
and I would work because he trusted me, and that was cool.
Dude, that's why I was happy. That my last first sergeant that I had was first 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily he was my fucking smoke back in my
He was
2010.
good. He was a good dude.
Oh yeah, great. He's out of the army now. He's out here in Texas and
Dude,
Dallas.
first sergeant Turman was mine, and I
Mm.
love that guy. He's the one who, honestly, if I look at maybe a handful of people in my career, I would not be sitting here doing this with you.
Yeah.
Turman did not give me the options of what he did. He
Right.
really cared, and even I would see him we were one of the military balls, and he had his wife and my wife, and he literally, you could tell by his body language and my wife, he's like, you owe me. You're something like, what are you talking about? He's like, it was just sort of quite understood stuff. And he became friends. He was working with the VA, and I think Denver last time I heard.
Oh, right on.
And we sent me a LinkedIn message one time a couple years ago. But he's a really good dude. We had, at 277, there were some good leaders, there were some bad leaders,
Yeah.
but there were some great soldiers, some bad soldiers. I did enjoy one of your podcasts a few weeks back when you were talking about God, now I'm gonna forget his name, but the big shit bag that would everyone used to pick on all the time. You made a comment about short stubby guy that was on your deployment. God, what's his name? He got what was his name? You were joking about all the stupid stuff he used to do. It was
God damn, now you're making me wonder.
That he was just that one dude. He's a smart ass guy. Always had some, like, what are you doing, man? I don't think he ever PT'd. He was always broke. He always short, sort of stubby guy. I gotta listen to your old podcast because you talked about it for a good minute. Because you're like, this motherfucker here would always, and I was like, oh my God, made me laugh. I totally forgot about him. So
Okay, if we're talking about one of my soldiers,
yeah,
and he was a piece of shit soldier,
yeah,
I can guarantee you it's Brown.
no, it wasn't Brown.
Okay.
It was a white guy. Because I remember seeing him. He would always come up to you. He always looked like a bag of shit. Always talk, but he never is always. Like, he deployed with you guys. Because you talked about, I think he deployed with you guys. I got to re-listen to your podcast. Anyway, it made me laugh because I was totally forgot about him. I was like, man, that dude. Because you think about names and the people like the Katzes of the world or like Cabrales or Cal Katz. If you're listening, hit me up. Yeah.
Kyle Katz.
That guy was so talking about Marines and Army. He was cracking me up because he was in the Marine Corps, got out for like a year or two, tried to go back in the Corps without him in because of his tattoos. And he's like, I got these tattoos on active duty. And like, well, we can't take you anymore. And
right.
He hated the Army every day he was in.
Oh,
he
yeah.
talked about how much he hated the Army. He talked crap about the Army all the time. I mean, yeah, it's different, but he was never thankful until he got out, never got promoted. He was terminal, he was the E4 Mafia, but it was just funny how some people, just whatever. He's like, screw that, screw
that. If you're listening, listen to what he's saying here, bro. Because you joined the fucking Army and you hated it even to now on his Facebook.
Oh yeah,
he hates that shit.
Hates it.
You know
Love
what?
you to death, man. But yeah,
you fucking chose your career, guy. You could have made the best out of it.
N-O is 2 letters of the most powerful word in the English dictionary. Just say no. I'm good.
Yep.
I don't want to do it.
Fact. Bro, we have gone so much over time. I appreciate you being here with me. Any shout outs before we end this first edition of Hanging Out with Anderson?
I just appreciate the time. Lopez has been way too long. If I can shout out some of my 217 FA leaders, Sergeant, Bobby Thomas, Sergeant First Class Maya Slebo, First Sergeant Olton, of course, the guys from 277, First Sergeant Terman. I can't thank him enough for some of his leadership and just, the guys that just, who welcome an old dude into the fold and did what I did. And just, especially when my first 2 station, it was good stuff, and we all make decisions and unlike cats, you gotta live with them, and I'm very happy that the Army gave me a chance. I love my Marine Corps time, but it was good stuff. So definitely appreciate it. Thanks for what you're doing, man. This is a good forum just to literally shoot the shit and keep the memories and alive of stories of people in the history, because legend of the red leg is slowly dying, man. Some of the young bucks don't even know what a red leg is.
Yeah,
So it's good
real.
to have this.
I appreciate that, man. And one thing that I've noticed is, a lot of folks within our community, we don't speak to each other ever, once we get out, but we still wonder how everybody's doing.
Sure.
So through this fucking this venue here, or through this medium, people are hearing about other folks, and it's good, just to know that somebody else is doing well. For me, I say I'm selfish because it's my medium to vent and just, be able to speak with other veterans and just fucking hang out and, like you said, shoot the shit, man. I love shooting the shit. And yeah, man, I appreciate you being on here, brother. And any other resources you think that you might want to shoot out, or you think you got them all?
Like I said, just to reiterate, man, if you're local, literally you can just go to texasserves.org, and that's one stop. Do nothing else. They will do everything for you, because it's case managers that work for you. You just tell them what you need, and they'll find the providers for you. And that's the blessing. It's like, you don't have to sit there and know too much. You don't have to call 10 different people,
Right.
and you say, I need this, and they will find it for you. And so that's one of the best ones to go. And then if not, contact your local, like I say, your local county veteran service office, and say, hey, I'm in need of this. I don't see anything out there. What can you do for me? And even if you're BFE, Minnesota or Alaska, someone's going to be serving veterans, and what do you have that you can help me? And they should be able to put you, if they can't help you, they'll put you in direction who will.
Hell yeah. Where's your old man hat? Do you have an old man hat yet?
Dude, I have fought that fight, and I will refuse to buy that shit. I know somebody made a custom one, if I remember right, that was, I think he was fresh off the damn, med board train. He got that shit made,
Yes, sir.
I wear some camel hats with like patches on when I ruck, but I'm not getting the typical, I'm definitely not going to get a custom Desert Storm / Afghanistan veteran hat. That's advertising that I am a geriatric FE,
So. For real with the,
man,
hey, it's all good.
Good,
you know
man.
What? You might be geriatric, but you out fucking do a lot of these young bucks that could be your grandkids.
So I'm going to put Lopez on blast to everybody out there in podcast world. I'll be stepping off tomorrow at 0800 at McAllister Park Trailhead. He'd be more than happy to show up. He could walk. If he can't hang with a rucksack anymore, I'm cool. He can wear his little running shoes or his old combat boots with dust on them. I'll be nice and gentle with him. I promise, everybody.
And I would love to take you up on that challenge. However, unfortunately, tomorrow morning at that time, I will be laying sod in my back.
That's right. He is doing some hard labor, guys. So we'll give him a break this time.
Yeah.
But Sunday, I'll be at another park, so I won't call you out on that one.
I will. You know what? I will give time. We will talk after this.
We will talk.
With that being said, y'all, hey, thank you very much for being here on the Gunline. We went over to 1 hour and 17 minutes. It just flew by. It's always
Lopez's fault.
Say what now?
It's Lopez's fault.
Oh, always, baby. Train room. No, I appreciate everybody that was listening to this. I hope y'all got something out of it. Thanks for being here on the Gunline with us, shooting the shit. It's been Anderson and Lopez here with y'all. With that being said, make sure y'all listen to Under the Net podcast. It's a great another venue with Sergeant Juarez. Gives you his take on on life, and it's just it's a good podcast to listen to. Go listen to Under the Net podcast. And Coach Silva podcast, I just had him on here last week. A very motivational speaker. He's also a 13 banger, and just life goals, life dreams. He's got just that positivity. Me, I'm the shit talking motherfucker who's on the just on the gun line, baby. So with that said, end of mission, rounds complete. Oh shit, I fucked it up. Go ahead, chew me out. Rounds complete, end of mission, gun line out. Bye, people.